Hello and welcome to Newscentre. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The Indian Navy has deployed the warship INS Chennai to assist a cargo ship suspected to have been hijacked near the coast of Somalia. Reports say that 15 Indians are on board the Liberia-flagged ship, which was headed from Brazil to Bahrain. The vessel alerted the UK Maritime Trade Operations to the boarding of 5 to 6 armed assailants yesterday. In a statement, the Indian Navy has said that its maritime patrol aircraft flew over the vessel earlier and established contact. The warship INS Chennai is now heading towards the vessel. This is the latest among a series of maritime incidents in the region since the last 1 month. Early in December, the Navy had responded to a piracy incident in a vessel. Then on the 23rd of December, Navy responded to a drone attack on a vessel headed to Mangalore. This comes at a time when commercial shipping companies are already struggling with attacks by Houthi rebels in the Red Sea. Indian government officials met shipping companies and exporters yesterday to take stock of the impact of the situation in the Red Sea. Sources say that the Defence Ministry is providing escort ships to many consignments in the high seas. Abhimanyu Sharma is getting us this report.
The cost of freight and insurance has risen for several shipments from India to various parts of the world, be it the US, Europe or Latin America, due to the fact that the ships which earlier used to take the route of Red Sea and Suez Canal have to take a longer route across Africa to avoid the conflict-ridden zone of the Red Sea. As of now, the meeting which was held yesterday by government officials with exporters and shipping companies has revealed so far that there is no long-term impact envisaged for now, and there is still some cushion available for several imported goods, at least for a month's time. However, what exporters have informed the government is that if at all the conflict lengthens and proceeds for a longer amount of time, then it may start impacting trade adversely. Also, there is no shortage of containers as per the government, but the turnaround time for ships has increased. The Ministry of Defence is also arranging security escorts for several shipments from India to various other countries and vice versa, to ensure that there is ample protection available for the shipments which are proceeding through the high seas. So for now, the government is keeping a close watch on the situation to avoid any further escalation in cost, be it in terms of insurance or in terms of freight.
Right. So what is being impacted is the cost of containers and insurance premiums, the risk premiums that companies are having to pay because of tensions in the Red Sea. Joining us now to take this forward is former Navy Chief Sunil Lamba. Admiral Lamba, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me begin by asking you what's happening right now. You've got INS Chennai, which is heading towards a Liberian-flagged vehicle, which has approximately 14 to 15 Indian crew members on board. What is the SOP that will be followed in terms of rescuing, relieving the Indian crew members?
Thank you for inviting me. The standard SOP varies. One is when a ship is under attack and before it has been commanded by the attackers or pirates, whatever term you want to use, and post the ship has been commanded by the attackers. Prior to attack, in the past also, the Indian Navy has thwarted piracy attacks. Motherships have been attacked and sunk. But once the ship is boarded and commanded by the attackers or pirates, then it becomes an entirely different ballgame. It's a question of sovereignty. What flag is the ship carrying? It may have an international crew, like the Liberian flag bulk carrier has in 15 Indian nationals, but it's not an Indian ship, so the Navy or the boarding team cannot board the ship unless you have permissions from the ship owner, the country of registry. So the SOP varies on the tactical situation on ground. In this case, once the ship has been boarded and commanded, generally it will lead to negotiations for the release of the crew and the ship.
Right. So we're looking at a complicated operation. So this could pan out for a few days. What do you feel, Admiral Lamba? And in terms of the identity, the actors who are involved in this hijacking operation, in this piracy operation, would you have any inkling as to what groups could they be belonging to?
I am personally, I'm not aware of the people who commanded or hijacked the ship. Initially, what I heard in the reports were there were Somali pirates. I really don't know who have commanded the ship.
Right. Now, coming to the question of the frequency with which these hijacking attempts, these drone attacks have been taking place over the last 1 month, we've seen, including this latest one with this Liberian flagged carrier, there have been at least 2 hijacking incidents. There have been true drone attacks, one in which a merchant vessel was significantly damaged. Why do you think such incidents are happening with greater frequency now near the Indian coast?
No, if they're not happening near the Indian coast, they are happening in the state of Bab el Mandab and the Red Sea close to Yemen. The attacks and the hijacking is post the 7th October attack on Israel and the Israeli and Hamas conflict, where the Houthi rebels based in Yemen had given a warning that they would carry out attacks in the Red Sea on Israeli flagships, ships owned by Israel, and merchant ships heading to Israel. And that is what has led to the spate of attacks in the past, say, 6 weeks. And the situation in the Red Sea, in the southern part of the Red Sea in the state of Bab el Mandab is directly linked to the Hamas-Israel conflict taking place in West Asia.
Right. I'd like to ask you about the drone attack that had taken place on MV Kemputo. What does that really show? Because here you had a big ship which was very badly damaged by a low-cost drone. What is the security challenge this is throwing up for the Indian Navy in the region, sir?
It's a major challenge in the areas around in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. Of my knowledge, there are 4 or 5 now major war vessel destroyers deployed in these areas to provide protection to merchant ships transiting through this area. There is also the coalition under the United States, which have been operating in the southern Red Sea to provide protection to ships transiting this area. And it was quite surprising at the range at which this drone attack was carried out on that merchant ship in the North Arabian Sea.
Right. In terms of India joining the US-led coalition, so far India has not taken a decision on that. Some experts are warning against it. Would it be wise for India to consider joining hands with this US-led coalition?
In the past, we have never joined any coalition like this, and in my opinion, it's unlikely to happen because it's not government policy. Ships are independently deployed, but I'm quite sure there will be a great deal of coordination going on between the United States Navy and the Indian Navy on ships deployed in the area, and cooperation will be taking place, but they will not be under the command and control of the United States coalition. We will be deploying independently and operating in coordination.
Right. Let's also ask you about the spillover of the impact of the Israel-Hamas war. What is the possibility of this triggering a larger maritime conflict, sir? We've been seeing Houthi rebels attacking Israel-flagged vehicles or shipping vessels bound for Israel. How do you think this could escalate into a larger conflict in the region?
There are 2 aspects. One, you initially alluded to a maritime issue. In my opinion, it's unlikely to spill over into a larger maritime conflict in the region. Now, the first week of January has been a number of important events have taken place, and you're looking at the Israeli-Hamas conflict. One has been the assassination of the deputy leader of Hamas in Beirut. Another incident has been recently the terrorist incident which took place in Iran during the anniversary of General Soleimani. Also, there has been a drawdown of U.S. naval forces. The Gerald Ford Carrier Battle Group is headed back home. There has also been a drawdown of Israeli ground forces from Gaza. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has indicated there is going to be a long drawn-out conflict. Also, the severity of air attacks and civilian casualties which were taking place in the initial phase of the attack in Gaza have come down. But only time will tell. At present, things don't look like that is going to confabulate into a major conflict in the West Asia region.
Right. What is the immediate challenge that you feel will be there for India, the Indian Navy, in terms of protecting our supply lines, protecting our merchant ships as well?
One is we'll have to work in coordination with the other navies deployed in the southern Red Sea, Strait of Bab el-Mandab, and the Gulf of Aden to prevent these attacks from taking place. There have already been a warning issued by certain nations, United States and United Kingdom to be specific, of direct action against the Houthis in case these attacks continue. So we may reach a situation like in the past when the piracies were taking place off the coast of Somalia. Merchant ships were being escorted through the high-risk areas. This attacks on merchant ships continue. We may have to resort to escorting ships for safe transit through the Gulf of Aden, the Strait of Bab el-Mandab, and Red Sea to protect the merchant shipping transiting through here and carrying vital trade for not only India, but for the world at large.
Right. But do you think that moment has arrived also for Indian Navy to do so, to start escorting all merchant ships?
There are already, I think, 3 to 5 ships deployed in the region. I'm not exactly aware of how they are coordinating and operating. But in case the frequency of the attacks increase, then I think this is the safest means of transit for merchant ships under armed escort of naval ships.
Right. Admiral Lamba, thank you very much for putting your perspective before us, telling us about the security challenges in the region and the complicated operation that will be there for the Indian Navy and also the people on board INS Chennai who are going towards that hijacked vessel in the seas. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Parikshit. My pleasure.
With that, it's time for a short break, but don't go anywhere.